Hi students, this is Miss Natalie Parr from the Harvard College Transfer Center, and we present to you the UC Personal Insight Question Workshop. So this workshop is meant to assist our students when applying to the University of California for Fall 2022 transfer, and it is with the intention of supporting you when you're answering your personal insight questions so that way you can feel confident and comfortable with sharing your experiences with the UCs as you apply for Fall 2022 transfer. So let's go ahead and get started. And thank you again for watching us either on YouTube or Instagram. And we hope that you have a great time learning the information. So let's go ahead and get started. So on the agenda, what we'll be covering. So we're going to be talking about applying to UC campuses or University of California campuses, which are public four-year institutions in the state of California. The actual personal insight questions themselves, writer's block, grammar, tips for success, Q&A, and then of course connecting with us at the very end. So what is a UC, first of all? So a UC is a University of California campus. There are 9 undergraduate campuses. They are research universities and they are public, located throughout the state of California. This includes UC Berkeley in Northern California, Davis, Irvine, UCLA, UC Los Angeles, UC Merced, UC Riverside, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, and UC Santa Cruz. And now for the dates and deadlines. So if you want to apply for Fall 2022 transfer admission, you're going to be applying November 1st through 30th. You can start working on your applications early, so you can create an account, start working on the application now, and the first day you can submit your application is November 1st. And the very last day that you can submit your application is November 30th. So you want to make sure that you get your application done in time. And if you wanted to apply for winter or spring 2023 admission, that would be July 1st through 31st. So fall applications are November 1st through 30th, 2021 to start in fall 2022. And now we're going to go over the UC transfer requirements really quick in case students are not familiar. So you do need a minimum 2.4 UC transfer GPA. If you need assistance calculating your transfer GPA for UCs, you can see a counselor like myself and we're glad to help you calculate that GPA. You also need a minimum of 60 UC transferable units. You'll also need to complete the 7-course pattern, which most commonly my students take English 101 and 102 for the English classes. Transfer level math is like Math 227, which is stats, stats 1, or calculus 1, pre-calculus, to name a few classes. And then 4 classes from at least 2 different areas of IGETC, which include arts and humanities, social and behavioral sciences, and physical and biological sciences. So maybe you took Chem 101, Bio 101, you took Psych 41, and Music 101. That means you completed the 7-course pattern because you have at least 2 classes in physical and biological science classes, and then so on to get the 4 classes from at least 2 IGETC categories. So this is what UC transfer looks like in a year. This is essentially a transfer timeline. So right here, we are around November. We're in the month of October still, right? So you should be working on financial aid right now through FAFSA or DREAM Act, which is due March 2nd next year. November 1st through 30th, you're going to be applying for fall 2022 admission. January 6th, you're going to go into your application and update your grades in the application by January 31st. March 1st is when you'll start receiving admission decisions from the UCs. March 2nd is the last day to apply for financial aid. In May, you'll have received admission decisions from all universities that you applied to in the UCs. And June 1st is the last day to submit your intent to register, meaning that you will be choosing one UC to commit to. And then July 1st, you'll be submitting your official transcripts to the UC that you chose for admission. And July 15th is when your AP scores are due. So that's what your year will look like. So we're about to approach the November 1st to 30th segment of transfer season. Now there are personal insight questions that you have to answer. That is because they want to give you an opportunity to showcase who you are, not only grades and classes that you've taken, but also your work ethic, your ability to overcome difficult situations, your creativity, your interest academically, socially, and even in just making the world a better place. So this is your time to really shine. We want you to make sure that you visit the Transfer Center to get help with the writing process. If you need assistance, we're here for you. We've all been trained on UC applications and how to craft excellent personal insight questions. Now, there is one mandatory question that you have to answer, and then 3 more of 7 to answer. So you have to do 4 responses. So that's why it's good to watch, the whole tutorial through, so you can have an idea of what to talk about. And so that way you can feel confident answering those questions. Of course, get somebody from the Transfer Center, myself included, to review the responses to make sure that you feel confident and comfortable turning them in. And then, of course, make sure that you do not wait till the last minute. So try to get started on these early. Try not to wait until November 30th at 11:30 at night to start writing these. You want to get these done really soon so that way you can get adequate feedback and support in getting strong responses turned in. So there are some tips when you're answering your personal insight questions. You want to make sure that you're answering those personal insight questions in a way that aligns with the mission of the UCs. They do recommend researching the mission of the UCs with students that you want to apply to. So definitely something to look at, the UC mission statement. And then also know the readers. So admission personnel normally are the ones reading the applications, not the faculty. So if you are, let's say for example, a chemistry major and in your response you want to talk about, I don't know, the covalent bonds and the elements and the stoichiometry, the typical individual reading the response, you want to make sure that they're able to understand the content of your response without being too technical. So it should be to the point where anyone could read it and be able to completely, clearly know what you're discussing. And then here is the required question. So please describe how you have prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at the university. So this is the question everybody has to answer. No one's allowed to skip this one. Please describe how you have prepared for your intended major. What is that major? What does that mean to you? Let's go into that a little bit. So they like to recommend that students highlight the important words that need to be answered in the question. So, some of the keywords that I see are describe how you've prepared for your intended major. So prepared for your intended major means, did you do major prep? Did you take the classes that you need? Did you research this major? Did you go to the Transfer Center and ask for help with understanding what would be the best major for you? Did you take a counseling class to help you pick a major? Did you have to change majors? Did you decide just recently that this would be the best major for you? And then including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at the university. So your readiness to succeed, what does that exactly mean to you? Are you excited about the major? Did you look in the catalog at the major and it just looks amazing at the university and you cannot wait to take those classes? Things like that do matter. So you want to definitely, of course, like I just did, highlight the part of the questions that you need to answer and explain what upper division courses are. Is something that I like to do with my students. So upper division courses at the university are 300 and 400 level classes. So at Harvard College and at all the community colleges, we teach 100 and 200 level courses like English 101, Math 265, right? Once you transfer, you're going to take more advanced courses. So for example, English 302, Math 421. They're more advanced. They require a lot more in-depth, thorough attention because they do have more advanced content. And so they want to know, are you excited for that? Are you ready to succeed in those classes? And you want to make sure that you state your intended major in the first sentence. That way it's easy for the reader. And you can also talk about your courses at Harvard College and how have they prepared you for the UC. Do you feel like your calculus teacher was just awesome and she got you on fire for math and now you cannot wait to take engineering classes? Do you feel like your psychology teacher opened up your eyes to the world of research and now you cannot wait to participate in research in your 400 level senior seminar, right? So something to talk about. And then when you're discussing this, use a timeline. I think it does help. Past, present, future model. So in the past, maybe I'll give an example. Maybe in the past, you didn't feel like you were the strongest at math, but you went to the math lab and you got help because you really wanted to be an engineer one day. And now in the present, you're a math tutor, you're helping other students and doing great. And you are getting A's in your physics and calculus. And now in the future, your math skills are up to par and they are where they need to be. And you're excited to apply to engineering programs and cannot wait to start at a university. So you want to explain briefly your past, what you're doing in the present to grow, and how will your future at the UC help you reach your goals. So I hope that makes sense. Just to break down a little bit that first mandatory question, and let's move on to the second question. So, well, technically it's not the second question. It is the now bonus options of responses. You do need to answer at least 3 from these 7. So choose which ones you feel you can talk the most about, is what I would say is a really good rule of thumb. So I'm going to go ahead and read these over really quick. So you pick 3 of 7. So number 1, describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. Number 2, every person has a creative side and it can be expressed in many ways. Problem solving, original and innovative thinking, and artistically, to name a few. Describe how you express your creative side. Number 3, what would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that talent over time? Number 4, describe how you have taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome an educational barrier you have faced. Number 5, describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? Number 6, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? And number 7, beyond what has already been shared in your application, what do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admission to the University of California? So you pick 3 of these and answer them, and we'll go over each question in detail. So optional question number 1, describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. So some things to think about. What does leadership mean to you? A leadership role can be more than just a title. It can mean being a mentor to others, acting as the person in charge of a specific task, or taking lead role in organizing an event or project. Think about your accomplishments and what you learned from the experience. What were your responsibilities? Did you lead a team? How did your experience change your perspective on leading others? Did you help to resolve an important dispute at your school, church, in your community, or an organization? And your leadership role doesn't necessarily have to be limited to school activities. For example, do you help out or take care of your family? So I think the main words in this are describe an example of your leadership experience, right? They said an example of your leadership experience. So you don't have to have a long list of all the leadership projects that you do. And this is, I'm just an overachiever. I am captain of chess club, and I am the captain of soccer, and I am the captain of cheer. It's not one of those kinds of responses. You just want to make sure that you are being specific in talking about your leadership experience and abilities. Whether that means positively influencing others, being a leader in your family as a first in your family to go to college, helping resolve disputes. Maybe you're a really good mediator, or contributing to group efforts over time. Are you the main one in the group project? Maybe you are. That's an example. So to find leadership, sometimes it's good to do a little writing exercise. So if you're watching this and you want to try it on your own, you can list 3 words that describe what a leader is to you. And, you can take some time to do that. 3 words. Now, do any of these words apply to you? How do you think those words apply to you? Now, has there ever been a time in your life where you displayed any of these traits? So think about those things when you respond to that question. If you like this one, and know that leader means different things to everyone. So if your idea of what a leader means is creative and unique, and you want to talk about it in that way, talk about it in that way. Maybe for you, a leader means waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting ready for work, and going out and taking care of your family and paying the bills, and coming home and going to school all night. That can be a leader too. So don't worry, there's not one set definition of being a leader. It's when you get up and take care of business. Optional question number 2. Every person has a creative side, and it can be expressed in many ways: problem solving, original and innovative thinking, and artistically, to name a few. Describe how you express your creative side. So, some things to consider. What does creativity mean to you? Do you have a creative skill that is important to you? What have you been able to do with that skill? If you use creativity to solve a problem, what was your solution? What are the steps you took to solve the problem? How does your creativity influence your decisions inside or outside the classroom? Does your creativity relate to your major or a future career? So those are some things that I think a lot of my students, they get a little bit intimidated by this question, but I think this is a really good one. Give you some tips. So of course, again, we're going to highlight some words that really stand out. So every person has a creative side, and it can be expressed in many ways. So creativity could mean problem solving, original and innovative thinking, artistically, and then describe how you express your creative side. So can you think of a time when your point of view was unique to others, maybe? What was the issue or problem from your perspective? So maybe there was an issue and that caused you to need to be creative of how to resolve the issue. Think of the same situation from the perspective of another person who was there with you. How was your approach different from that person's? So sometimes being creative means solving a problem. Was there ever a problem where your imagination and intuition guided you to the solution? See, so it does happen where people don't realize that they're being creative when they're really just trying to figure things out and solve problems so that way life can be easier. Do you have a passion for music, theater, visual art, dance, etc.? What have you gained from it that has affected your parts of your life? So some people are creative in the most traditional way, which is, for example, performance-based creativity. Maybe you're really good at drawing. Maybe you're really good at making YouTube videos and you just know how to edit videos and film B-roll and make tutorials and you get a ton of views. That counts. What have you gained from being creative, and how has it affected parts of your life? Now, during the pandemic, here's another one. Did you have an opportunity to do creative things? Now, my students that went through college during the pandemic, I have so much respect and appreciation for your hard work. And I will say my students have been tremendously creative in making opportunities for themselves to make money, to make art, to be able to express themselves, to solve problems. Maybe you were creative in figuring out a way for everybody to be comfortable at home during lockdown. Maybe you're creative in figuring out a way to, for example, start a little small business for yourself selling masks. Who knows? Creating, hand sanitizer products. My students honestly amaze me with the things that they come up with. So I'm sure I have plenty of you watching this video that know exactly how you want to answer this one. Okay, optional question number 3. What would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that talent over time? Things to consider. If there's a talent or skill that you're proud of, this is the time to share it. You don't necessarily have to be recognized or have received awards for your talent, although if you did and you want to talk about it, feel free to do so. Why is this talent or skill meaningful to you? So for some students, talent means they're really good at dancing, or they're really good at cooking, or they're really good at teaching others how to do things. We don't really know what exactly each person's good at just by taking a look at them. They have to talk about it. So this is your time. If you feel like you're really good at something, talk about it, share that. Now, did this talent come naturally to you, or did you have to work hard to develop this skill or talent over time? Does your talent or skill allow you opportunities in or outside of the classroom? If so, what are they and how do they fit into your schedule? So let's go over some tips for this question. What would you say is your greatest talent or skill? Depends on the student. I think the main thing is that you show that you grew over time in your talent or skill. So you can, for example, in a little exercise on your own sheet of paper or on your phone in your notes, you can list 3 of your talents or skills. And I like to tell my students to pick the one that's the most unique. Were these talents or skills the same a few years ago? Let's say, for example, I picked my talent or skills. Let's say I picked cooking, baking, and let's say jogging. Um, so were these talents or skills the same a few years ago? Was I the same cook I was a few years ago? Was I the same baker I was a few years ago? Was I as fast of a runner as I was a few years ago, right? What changed in you, in your talents and skills? Have you grown in your talent over the last few years? Have you improved? Which one of the three talents or skills you listed is the most meaningful or important to you, and why? Does the talent come naturally, or have you worked hard to develop the skill or talent? So some examples of talents that I've heard students talk about are leather crafting. You would be amazed. My students are really good. They can make things out of leather. Incredible. Aquarium services business. Now that's a really cool one. To be able to break down a container and take out all those fish and clean them and make the tank look beautiful and the fish happy. That's a talent for sure, and also requires entrepreneurial mindset. So that one is a really good one. Maybe a student has a talent that's community based or culturally based. Maybe they're really good at folklorico dancing, or maybe they're an ASO and they're really good at making events for the students. Maybe your talent is that you're super mom and you manage your home, your school, and your work, and you are just so good at time management, and time management is just your skill. Really, there is no wrong answer. If there's something that you feel that you're good at that is totally your thing, maybe it's decorating, maybe it's cleaning, I don't know, but it's your time to share that. So let's go on to the next question after this. Optional question number 4. Describe how you have taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome an educational barrier you have faced. So some things to consider. An educational opportunity can be anything that has added value to your educational experience and better prepared you for college. For example, participation in an honors or academic enrichment program, or enrollment in an academy that's geared toward an occupation or major, or taking advanced courses that interest you, just to name a few. If you choose to write about educational barriers you faced, how did you overcome or strive to overcome them? What personal characteristics or skills did you call on to overcome this challenge? How did overcoming this barrier help shape who you are today? So some ideas of what you can talk about for this. So I think the main words in this one is how you've taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or work to overcome an educational barrier you faced. So some examples of educational opportunities that I could think of that we offer at our college are the UCLA Center for Community College and Partnerships program, our wonderful STEM Step program, honors, puentes, special programs, just to name a few. You can also answer with how you have worked to overcome an educational barrier. Sometimes my students took the placement test and they had a low math result, but they wanted to do engineering, for example, and they had to really work through maybe arithmetic, elementary algebra, intermediate algebra, until they finally got to calculus 1, 2, and 3. Maybe a student had a major that had a lot of math and maybe heavy science, right? Maybe they wanted um, psychology BS at UCI, and it just was so much science. But they went through it. They got through it. That barrier, right? Maybe a student started in ESL courses, and they had to put hours and hours in studying to really be confident and comfortable doing research papers in English and writing 10-page essays in English. Maybe for a student, they were pushed out of their home after high school or received little limited support from family. So you want to take this time to elaborate on challenges and how they affected your academics. So yes, you had challenges. How did they affect school for you? You might not want to come off as negative or self-pitying. I know my students tell me that. Sometimes they say, I don't want them to feel bad for me. I don't want them to feel like I feel bad for myself. And I'm just saying, poor me. And I don't want you to feel uncomfortable either when you're writing this. I don't want you to feel like you're just you feel like you're not being true to yourself because you don't want to make it seem like you are, feeling sorry for yourself. But it does help to be vulnerable in a way that you're saying it to say, look it, I'm so strong and I got through all of these things. And here I am, getting ready to transfer, doing well in college, making my dreams come true. I'm doing this in spite of everything I've been through. It made me stronger. Maybe it made you unique. Maybe it made you be able to empathize with others and care about others and stand up for others. So I think that's the best way to phrase it for my students. Um, Also, you want to make sure that you are highlighting how resilient and tenacious you are, and how, you know what, maybe these things happened, but they didn't stop me, and nothing's going to stop me from reaching my dreams, right? I see that a lot of my students. You're all so strong and you go through so much, and you everything that you work so hard for has, it just pays off. So this is a good question, I think, definitely. Now maybe you want to talk about how you found out about an opportunity or a educational opportunity that you took advantage of. How did you find out about the UCLA Center for Community College Partnerships program? How did you find out about special programs? How did you find out about Puente or honors, right? Or STEM STEP? So that's your time to also talk about how you came across these resources that helped you. The next question, optional question number 5, describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? Some things to consider. A challenge could be personal or something you have faced in your community or school. Why was the challenge significant to you? This is a good opportunity to talk about any obstacles you faced and what you've learned from the experience. Did you have support from someone else or did you handle it alone? If you're currently working your way through a challenge, what are you doing now and does that affect different aspects of your life? For example, ask yourself, how has my life changed at home, at my school, with my friends, or my family? Okay, and now let's take a look at optional question number 5's notes, just some tips for you. So, describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? So, what steps did you take to overcome that challenge? Maybe you had a challenge or experience caring for grandparents, parents, and self, and you really took the time to figure out what would work best, how to be there for your grandparents, your parents, or even showing up for yourself. How does this challenge affect different aspects of your life? Maybe it affects your school, maybe it affects your relationship with family or friends, um, perception of self, and so on. So that's something to think about. And I try to recommend to my students that you only share what you're comfortable with. So we don't want you to share anything that you're not comfortable with, of course not. Some students, they do find answering this question to be therapeutic, but they can also find it to be painful. Some students, maybe they talk about their experience with anxiety as an example. Maybe anxiety has affected your academic achievement, but it's something that you're overcoming. Maybe you're going to therapist. Maybe you're visiting a therapist at our college, at our Life Skills Center. But these kinds of topics can be triggering, so we want to make sure that you're okay. If you need help or support, see us at the Transfer Center and we can help you too. And we are a safe space for our students. So everything that you share with us is confidential. It's not to be shared at all with anyone else. We're only here to support you. So just know that we are here for you. And question number 6, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? So some things to consider. Thinking of community, you want to think of it as a term that can encompass a group, team, or place like your high school, hometown, or home. You can define community as you see fit. Just make sure you talk about your role in that community. Was there a problem that you wanted to fix in your community? Why were you inspired to act out? What did you learn from your effort? How did your actions benefit others, the wider community, or both? Did you work alone or with others to initiate change in your community? So just something that we want to go over, some notes. Now, community can be defined as you see fit. So family, school, friends, workplace, community, information sharing during the pandemic, just to name a few examples. And we're just going to give some examples that our students have done. So one might be food pantry, volunteering and tutoring others. Have you done anything at your college community to help enrich it or make it a better place for others? I know we had a lot of students that got involved virtually with the college and trying to make virtual events for our students so that way everybody felt a sense of community at Harbor. Students who maintained, I had a student also who maintained a skate park and raised money for kids to get skateboards. That was a really cool one. I had a student that gave free haircuts to church members during the pandemic when barbershops were closed. That was a really cool one too. Now, who are your communities? What do you feel is your community? Do you feel like you really identify with the first generation college student community? Are you an LGBTQ community member or ally? Maybe your community is a religious group. Try to focus on one specific thing to talk about. And we also want to make sure that you talk, in terms of quality over quantity. So you don't have to list that, you do all these different things. Maybe you bake cookies and for the Girl Scouts, and then you go to clean up the beach, and you also do this and that. You don't have to have a long list. You just need to have that quality experience of doing something for others that you care about, that you relate to, that you identify with. Um, and if you're having trouble, you can also try to write down everything you can think of and work from there with someone who you trust to give feedback to edit and see what would be a good direction to hone in on. And that's where I think these responses are very conversational, and that, maybe sometimes my students are not sure what to talk about. That's when I try to ask my students questions. Well, tell me, what are you interested in? Who are your friends? What do you do for fun? Is there a certain group that really has a special place in your heart? Maybe it's children with special needs. Maybe it's individuals with ALS, right? So different things to discuss. And then optional question number 7. Beyond what has already been shared in your application, what do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admission to the University of California? Things to consider. If there's anything you want us to know about you but didn't find a chance to or place in the application to tell us, now's your chance. Have you not shared with us? What have you not shared with us that will highlight a skill, talent, or challenge or opportunity that you think will help us know you better? From your point of view, what do you feel makes you an excellent choice for UC? Don't be afraid to brag a little. So some ideas. I think what do you believe makes you stand out? I think that's the main question that they're asking here. What makes you stand out? Who are you? What makes you special? What intersections in your life, make you who you are? Maybe you're a first generation college student. Intersectionality means that there are a lot of different things about you that all come together and make you who you are. Maybe you're a first generation college student. Maybe you're an LGBTQ student. And maybe you're also a parenting student, right? 3 different things, but they all come together and you relate to all of these experiences because you're living through them. This example is a first generation college student, child of immigrants, aspiring lawyer, undocumented, parenting student, and former foster youth. Think of the things that don't quite fit in other boxes and elaborate on them. So this is a very open-ended question. Think about your values, your morals, and what you're passionate about. What diversity do you bring to the UC? And you don't have to be generic, okay? Don't feel like they're looking for a specific response because they really aren't. They just want to be able to see you in your response. Instead of just saying something short like, I'm ambitious, you can say, I'm very motivated to reach my goal of becoming a lawyer by doing such and such, right? So be specific about, what are you ambitious about? What is it that you want to do with your life? Why do you think that, being that the future lawyers of tomorrow need somebody like you? Somebody who is first gen, somebody who's a child of immigrants, somebody who is undocumented, right? What can you bring to the legal field someday with your perspective? So definitely something that I want to encourage all of you to start thinking about because you are special. You're an amazing student and you're trying your best to get into a UC. So just know that we are here for you to help you with this, with these application questions and the process of getting them to where they need to be so you can turn it in with high quality responses. Now, writer's block is something that does occur for a lot of students. For pretty much anyone who has to write something, you can feel writer's block. So sometimes it can be challenging challenging to talk so much about yourself, pretty much for short answer responses. That can be, overwhelming to a student. So try thinking about the reader. They only know what you include in your application, so you want to make paint a clear picture for them of who you are so they can see you through your words. And I think definitely conversation can help with the writing process. So you don't have to come to the transfer center only if you have 4 drafts. No. You can come as soon as you see these questions and just say, you know what, okay, now I'm going to make an appointment with the counselor in the transfer center, or I'm going to go visit the transfer center because I need help with this and I just don't know where to start. Come see us even in the very beginning. And of course, remember that it's better to start early and get feedback than typing out your answers at 11:30 on November 30th. We do not want that for you. So try to get started with these early, and we're here to help. And next, grammar. Be sure to review your responses for content and grammar. A grammatically sound response will help your reader review responses with ease, and minor grammatical issues will not cost you your admission. So if you have a little typo here and there, that's not a big deal. But if your response is full of errors and they can't even read through it because of all the errors, that's when it becomes problematic. So you want to make sure that you find a balance. If you happen to have Grammarly or you're able to download it, I know there's a free version. I think that can be really helpful too for pretty much anyone who wants to just write a clear, concise response to something. And final success tips. So you want to make sure that you seek advice and feedback very early on. Don't wait until the end to get your feedback. And then, of course, when it comes to feedback, these are your responses. So you decide what feedback would make your personal insight question responses the most effective and impactful. Feedback to your feedback is, something that you want to make sure if somebody tells you maybe they didn't like this part of your response, but you feel like that was your favorite part and that was special and that it needs to be in there, it's okay to say, thanks for your opinion. I think I'm going to leave it in. Or you don't even have to give them a response that you're going to leave it in. But you can leave in there whatever it is that you want, because at the end of the day, your name goes on the submission of the PIQ. So make sure that it's something that it feels like your work, it feels like your writing, and you're confident turning it in. And they do recommend 3 types of editors. So first one being someone who really knows you. They may be able to encourage you to add something that you might have overlooked or not seen in yourself, right? Maybe you can also ask someone who doesn't know you at all to help discuss any lapses in time, confusing points, and unclear info. So in the Transfer Center, a lot of our students, we're just seeing them for the first time during application season. So you can always ask us, and we're able to, ask those kinds of questions. And then, of course, someone who writes really well, that's really good with grammar, spelling, syntax, etc. So they can help you prevent any grammatical issues in your essay, and so that way it's not hard to follow. And of course, you want to highlight in your responses where you have directly answered the question. So look back at the question, and when you do your responses, make sure that it's clear that you answered these questions, right? So we want to make sure that when they read that response, that they'll be able to see that you see yourself as a strong candidate for admissions to the UC, and you believe that such qualities make you a strong candidate, right? So making sure you actually answer that question, okay? And then, of course, content. Let it be interesting, exciting, special, and unique. It doesn't have to be like this perfectly worded short response of what you think they want to hear. It needs to be your experiences, your goals, your dreams, your values, right? And that's what's going to make you shine, is being yourself. And then last but not least, let's definitely connect. If you don't have us on Grad Guru already, download the Grad Guru app and you can select LA Harbor College as your campus to get transfer notifications. Follow us on Instagram. Our name on Instagram is LAHC Transfer Center, so give us a follow and you'll get more transfer information, news, and updates. Our phone number is 310-233-4282. And if you're on campus, we are located in the Student Services Administration SSA building, room 105. So we will see you there. And thank you so much for joining us for this workshop. Have a wonderful day, and we cannot wait to help you transfer. Take care. Bye.